I'm your host, Robert Gaines, and today we have SEO expert Alejandro Meyerhans, and he is coming in from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which is fantastic. We'll talk a little bit about digital nomad and travel and how that works into the entrepreneur experience as well. But first, let's talk about SEO. How are you doing?
No, I'm doing great. Very excited to be here today. Very grateful.
Well, well, there was some great content. I've been following you on social media, looking at past posts, and I wanted to actually start with a question that doesn't drive directly to your experience, but I know you can answer this and help some people out. What are people getting wrong as far as SEO, search engine optimization, with their social media posts? Where are you see? Because you're pretty prolific on social media. What could the content creators, as far as what they're doing on LinkedIn or Facebook, help their SEO better?
For content creators specifically, yeah. Hmm.
Hmm.
It depends massively of what kind of monetization method they have behind. So I know you had a conversation just recently with Chris Walker from Legit, amazing man, right? We spent some time in India together just recently, actually, and he was there presenting on the stage. I was just tagging along on their mastermind, and as he said, right now there are really three main verticals where you can still make a truckload of money with SEO, just local businesses, e-commerce, and then service-based businesses like digital services, right? So if the creator has some sort of either a SaaS product or a digital service that they're driving traffic through their social media presence like YouTube, right? Then by all accounts, SEO will still be an amazing channel. And in fact, the fact that they have the social media presence serves as an amazing backbone for the SEO because they already have a bit of the entity recognition, the brand recognition, the name. Right? So, okay, this brand is run by this person is a lot better than this brand is run by I don't know who. Google doesn't like the second scenario so much, right? And so people that become aware of your brand through your social media and then go directly onto Google and they search for your brand name, that's a massively positive signal. So to actually answer your question of like what kind of like things could easily be implemented. I mean, I hate to oversimplify things, but in truth, SEO is not really that complex. There's really five things to SEO. Technical, build your site well, make sure that it's extremely fast and light. Matter of fact, just how light and just how much data the website has, the standards have tightened up a lot, right? Google just recently said, hey, past 2 MB, we don't care about anything else on your site, right? Yeah, per file, right? Per unit of HTML, CSS, all the other stuff, right? Then you have your content, right? Make your content very optimized for search engines, not just posts, right? Make sure that you're running through something like Page Optimizer Pro. Bit of a learning curve, worth doing if you're already publishing content. Just make it good for Google anyway. Link building, greatly overlooked by other people. How we make people money by ranking them through links primarily, and then you're using engagement. So putting something like Microsoft Clarity on the website and just going through the heat maps, where are people engaging, what forms are being completed or completed. Oh, I didn't think this item didn't work. And then you click on it like, oh yeah, that doesn't work, right? Bad user experience. That feeds into a separate algorithm called rank brain, right? People land on the website, all the signals and whether or not their user needs have been met, which is the proper terminology. Basically, did you get what you were looking for, right? Are these the droids that you're looking for? Yes or not, right? If they're the droids you're looking for, then fantastic. And last is just the brand recognition. So the amount of people searching for you specifically, how many reviews, sentiment online, and then that's where things like citations, Reddit, and so forth come in place. And if you transport this into AI, it's same but different.
And Alex, I think you just,
Excuse me.
I was over here giggling because, when Chris, I'm glad you mentioned Chris, because I wasn't going to mention him because he's, another SEO expert that was on the channel. And that was a wildly popular um, episode. But since you guys are in the same space, I wasn't going to bring him up. So I'm glad you brought him into the conversation because now I can open up some
I
other
love the guy.
things. I'll tell you, Alex, I read prolifically. I mean, read like beyond anybody I know personally, yet uh, Chris was one of the few guests that when he was talking, it was just, I knew it was great content, but I didn't have enough of a basis to understand. And I think in your intro, you demonstrated to me at least, because when I'm thinking as a business owner and an entrepreneur, I'm like, I need an expert like Alex because that's a lot. I mean, even though that was a short
Thank you.
explanation, And I would encourage the business owners out there watching this to get with Alex because that seems simple, but it's simple to Alex because he's a genius, you know. But somebody like me, that wouldn't be. I wouldn't personally want to go into that depth. I'd rather just work with you, have you go in and take a look, and I would take your wise counsel on that. And the same thing for Chris because Chris just blew me away. I knew he was dropping pearls, but SEO is wizardry to a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm in that. So I probably need to read
Yeah.
more books on SEO, but it's changing so fast. I'd rather have somebody like you who's you're traveling, you're going to the conferences, you're learning the latest information. So I don't have to. I just hire you. So I think you just did a great advertisement for yourself and your services. But when you
Wasn't meaning to.
do, what's that? I'm sorry.
I wasn't meaning to.
No, no, it was good. It's complicated, and these business owners really shouldn't play around with that by themselves, unless they want to go, get educated in it. But I'm a big fan of entrepreneurs particularly the business owner, whoever's the captain of the ship, they should be engaged in the activity that makes the cash register ring. Everything else, I'm a big fan of outsourcing. Let an expert. Like when I wrote my book, I didn't do the cover. I tried to do the cover one time and I showed it to some friends and they were like, "Oh, no, to get somebody else to do the cover because I'm not a designer." So I hired a company that just does covers and I think they did a good job. So with SEO, they need somebody like you. But to give us some idea of when you're helping people, what does this involve? Do you get involved into their Google search console? Just give us a little piece of the technical of how you get in and quickly see if they have a trust problem, which I think is a great point you've discussed in the past.
Yeah. So how I help people through SEO has evolved over the years as my own understanding of the science slash art, which is both, right? I think everything in marketing has the numbers mathematically driven, decomposable into constituent parts, very left hemisphere part of marketing, and the creative, nouveau thinking side of it. And SEO definitely has both, right? The creative part is typically how do we execute on the math that we just gathered that tells us that we need 30 backlinks or to publish 5 pieces of content, right? And it's how do we do it better than anyone else? That's where you have to be creative. So as both sides, my understanding of both sides has evolved over time, I've also changed my approach. So I started just running affiliate sites. That's how I got into SEO. I was a not very happy waiter in the south of Spain, making close to minimum wage by working 60 hours a week, not super happy, right? And yeah, I mean, it was great when you're 25 single, it's great. You get to work by the beach and put some money in the pocket, and then you're off half a day a week. It's fantastic. But at some point, like, this doesn't look like a fantastic prospect for a long-term career. So I started figuring out what can I do. And SEO, as Chris said, like it's a very low barrier to entry. And one of my personal gripes with it, and it's totally not what you asked me, but I'm going to go in this tangent if you will allow it. One of my personal gripes with SEO, which I share with Chris there, is the low barrier to entry is poorly deployed. You're supposed to deploy it by running your own projects and getting good at the science of SEO yourself, because it's very easy to do it if you want to learn the craft. And then you get clients. That's the way I did it. And I didn't want to do client work. So that's how I started, by not wanting to do
That's
client work. I was
interesting.
doing
You
my own
didn't you
websites.
didn't want to do client work. Okay.
Oh
Wow.
no, the idea to me was horrible, was the definition of hell. Maybe because I already came from the service industry, so I was negatively biased to like having so many bosses and being told what to do
Oh.
and what not to do. And I thought, I just want to run my websites and not have anyone to tell me what I can and cannot do and when can I take a piss, excuse my language.
Yeah,
So
no, no. If you don't mind, let's flesh that out a little bit. What were you into at that time that you wanted to drive SEO to? Because obviously your business concept, your whole business structure evolved because presumably you were in a different industry or started some type of internet-based business.
I think I don't know how well I've told and how much depth I've told this story before, but knowing that a good guest is attractive, which I don't check that box, but maybe has a good backstory and tells a good story. Let's see if I can tell you the story. Um, so when I was in Germany, living as an immigrant, I've immigrated 5 times in my life. That was one of the earlier ones, and I wasn't very happy. The name on the contract that I had there was servant of the house. So not being very
Jesus.
happy about that, I fantasized with the idea of just making money somehow else that wasn't doing that and just writing books in a hut in Goa. Because I love writing. I do creative writing, right? I write whatever. It's nothing special, right? But I enjoy it. And I thought, oh, if I can make a couple $100 a month and I can live somewhere very cheap, like India, it'll tick all the boxes. I'll be free, right? Because what I wanted was freedom. Because when you're a servant, then the grass is greener everywhere else, pretty much, when you have life. So I went to India as a backpacker trying to figure out whether it was the right place for me or not. I loved it. I had to come back to Spain to make sure that, affairs were in order with the family because, uh, life can get tough sometimes and you have to pull your weight and help the family. That's okay. It allows me to sleep at night knowing that I did what I had to do to help the family. That's fantastic. But I had to park that dream of just living in India and writing books. And then I came into the 4-hour work week and I saw, oh, blogs will be the vehicle with which I make money. I'll just publish a blog, rank it on Google, make a couple $100 from ads and affiliate, Bob's my uncle in it. Fantastic. Let's do it. That was the plan. Right. So I started building websites. I made the first like $200-300 a month. And it's like confirmation, I'm ready to go. But
Wow.
then by then life got a bit difficult. I didn't have a girlfriend, so this, what do I do? And somehow I got a job offer to work for a guy that I was buying content from. His name is Dominic Wells. I've told this a few times, but he right now runs Onfolio, which is a publicly traded company in the Nasdaq. But that was in his earlier days where he was running an SEO agency. So I joined his agency to run sales funnels, which I had no idea what they were. Like he put the
Pa-
job ad and it was like 2 grand
Powerful
a
tool.
month. And I'm
Very
like,
powerful
I've
tool.
never made 2 grand in my life. What do I have to do? Sales funnels? Let me Google that real quick. Right. And thankfully, the science of it matched with my level of neurospiciness. So it was a good combination. And I learned it very fast. I sent him a video application. He gave me the job. And then I moved to Ireland. That was the how it happened. But so I never got around to go back to India and write books living cheaply. Okay. But it got me into this. So I started writing those blogs and ranking them and doing affiliate and all that stuff while I was running his sales funnels and doing Facebook ads and landing pages, the whole enchilada, tripwires, email. Learning primarily, he gave me a massive opportunity because I had no clue what I was doing. But I says, I'll figure it out. And he trusted me to figure it out. And we figured it out together for quite a while, right? And as I was doing all of that, I was very active in some Facebook groups, sharing what I was learning about SEO, what I was working, not working, right? Oh, speed optimization has this kind of results. If you get your speed here, then this happens. Oh, by the way, you can get your pages arranged this way, and then this happens. Sharing what I was learning by running DOMs, a small portfolio of affiliate sites at that time, and my own few sites, right? And people started approaching me, hey, can you do my speed optimization? Can you look into my Search Console? Like, I don't want clients. I have a job. Like, also, like, this is a conflict of interest. So I said, Dom, like, are you cool if I take some clients to do speed? And like, yeah, go for it. I'm like, okay, $200, I'll fix your speed. Fine. Because it was like 2 hours of work, right? Like, okay,
Oh,
$100 an hour, I'll
wow.
do it.
And
Right.
that's the Google search console work where you go in and for people that
Correct. So it's,
don't know, can you give us the like 10-second explanation of what the Google search console is? Because it's powerful.
oh, yeah, certainly. So Google Search Console is a free tool for webmasters where you basically put a little snippet of code at the top of your site. And then from there, it starts getting tons of insights about what users are doing on your website, from what keywords they're coming from, all of that stuff. And just Google shares limited amount of information with a very clunky UI. You can use SEO Gets. Pro tip, SEO Gets better than Search Console. And you can see a lot of things that are happening with your website. Where are you ranking, for what keywords, on what pages, what kind of users, mobile, desktop, any errors with your website, or 400 errors, which means your page is nowhere, 500 errors, which means your server is not doing its job. And you can see just how slow or how fast your server is. And that's where the money was for me back then, because I knew how to make a site very fast. It was very straightforward, like check these boxes and the site goes from taking 3 seconds to load to taking half. And SEO does pop immediately, because back then, that's when they started rolling mobile first speed. We're talking 2018, 19,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So back then, making the site fast was the reward for that was a lot bigger. So just doing that immediately improved your SEO widely. So I started doing that, and people say, "Oh, can you do this for me?" And then getting tons of referrals, which is something that we're talking about. Like if you can get results, you get referrals, and you don't have to worry about eating tomorrow, right? You talk about that with Chris, I believe. And at some point, it became so much of a thing that I was like, I can't do this and my job for Dom. So like, I gotta make a choice
Oh.
here. And so I flew solo for a while,
And
and
where
somehow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Longer
ahead.
story, I landed doing what I'm doing today. Long story.
No, that's great. That's great. I appreciate you sharing that, and thank you for watching the video that you referred to. By the way, you put so much stuff in there. As an interviewer, I look at threads that I can pull on because, I have prepared questions, but the follow up question is where a real interviewer knows what they're doing. And you gave me so many threads to pull on, but we don't have time. I can tell you we'll have to do this again because there's a whole,
I'd love to.
there's subjects in there that I think you've had experiences that uh, people need to hear, and I think it's very inspiring because I'm sure your family's very proud of you because you are absolutely a success story. And in the United States, we love that when somebody comes from. So look at our big hero, Rocky. He's came from nothing. He fought Apollo Creed. And so we love that, and we need to hear those stories, Alex, because there are. I said to somebody the other day, and some people just can't identify with this because they've never lived their life like this. But I was joking with somebody. I said, I remember the days when I was having to scrape around for change just to get 1 gallon of gas to make it to work on Friday so that I could get my check and maybe survive another week. Now, I still had a car and, I still had privileges in that situation. But some people have never had to reach under the seat of their car to gather some change just to get to work
Yeah.
for one more day. And, I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs that are so far into their entrepreneurial path, maybe they've forgotten those days, but I'll never forget those days because if you lose
I've not
the
forgotten.
connection to your past, you lose your future, right?
I've definitely not forgotten being paid 30 euros on my first month working in a hotel and having to eat
Oh,
potato salad every single day because it was 1 euro per block and I could do half in lunch and half at dinner.
unbelievable. Now, but now serious question, is that a book going to come out? Because that's the story I would pay to read on top of.
I mean, yeah, maybe in another 20 years when I actually accomplish something that I think has served enough people that other people will care, right? Now, we help businesses, we run them on Google. That's fantastic, but it's business, right? I don't think I've done anything that has reached the level of scale of positive impact in the world that, uh, to my own eyes, which maybe I'm aiming too high, would give me the grounds to say, oh, yeah, maybe I tell the whole story,
Well,
because
I'll
there's
say
not that
this,
much to
Alex.
tell.
I'll push back on that because the most of the people that I know, there are a lot of people I know that are trapped in their circumstance, and they're only trapped because they're not willing to give away or throw away or sell all their belongings or whatever they have left and just fly to a completely different country and try to start over. That's immensely scary. And as a guy who's about to do that myself, people, my circle are like, "What? You're gonna what?" And it's scary, but I'm not afraid because I've done the research. I know that I'm geo maximizing, I'm moving into a better situation. And I think that's brilliant. This is where you're different from a lot of entrepreneurs that I know. You understood very early on that there was advantages to geo maximizing because most people, it's like the YouTubers and influencers, they want the jet behind them. They want to look like this life of luxury. You're thinking India because you're thinking if I get my expenses down, then I only need to make so much money. That's very counterintuitive. It's brilliant, but very counterintuitive. And I don't think people hear that enough. They just think I'll be a digital nomad in Thailand, which is fantastic, but they don't talk about the economics and how brilliant that is. If you go to a place where the if you want to start with a clean slate, you could not do that here in the United States. Let's say if you're 45 and you want to just completely move to another side of the country and start out, it's very hard here, very hard. But you could go to India, Thailand, possibly rebrand yourself and take advantage of that really low cost of living and slowly grow yourself. So talk about how did Thailand enter into the journey? Because it was India first, and then at some point you went to Thailand.
Correct. So interesting about India, the biggest pull for me wasn't really just how cheaply it was to live, because mind you, I was living with 300 euros a month there, but the standards are the kind of standards that most people will never roll with. But I grew up in the countryside without electricity and running water. So for me, it's like, yeah, okay, don't care that, the room is clean enough. The rats are not close to me, right? I'll pay $1 a night to stay here. Don't care. I'm not falling sick. It's fine, right? So in a way, there's freedom there, right? But
Yes.
the biggest thing was the cultural pull that I felt for the place, right? I absolutely love India. I've been multiple times now. Every single time I have a chance to go, I'm like super happy. Like, my God, what? do this time. But to the question about Thailand, my plan was to go there. But at the time that I had the opportunity to go there, I was in a relationship. And I was like, well, I'm happy with this person. I don't want to just say, okay, bye-bye, and let me pursue my individualistic thing because I wasn't raised that way. So like, do you want to go with me to Asia? We can start with Thailand. It's easier. There's a lot of people doing what I'm doing there. And then if, we get a bit of seasoning in our belt, we can go to India together, right? Because India in itself is an experience and has certain levels of difficulty baked into it. And for the better or the worse, I think those levels of difficulty are not the same for men as they are for women. Okay. And it's just the kind of experience that you have there. There's different things that you have to deal with there, right? If you're in either side. Thailand, however, is, I would say, one of the safest countries I've ever been to in my whole life. You can leave your $1,000 helmet with a GoPro on top of your bike with the keys on, leave for 3 days, come back, it's still there. Thanks heavens.
Try that in Rio de Janeiro.
Right? And so we went there to Chiang Mai, also driven by knowing that loads of big names in the SEO industry that I was following, that I was learning with, and thanks to what I was learning from them, I was making money. So I was very grateful. Like, I meet my heroes, right? We're based in Chiang Mai. And so let's do a couple of weeks and then we do the digital nomad thing.
Now, for people that don't know, Alex, tell them about how beautiful Chiang Mai is, because I know, but the viewers might not know. I mean, it's really a magical place.
Whenever this question comes up, I always wonder, like, should I say that Chiang Mai is horrible and for people not to go there? Because if it gets too overrun, it's gonna happen like Phuket or other places, right? Chiang Mai is wonderful if you like a slow life, if you want to really connect with the place and make yourself local. You'll never really be local. Listen, it's very hard, even if you spend 50 years, regardless.
You're still a farang, you're still a foreigner.
Correct, but integrate yourself at least in a way where you're respecting all the local customs and stuff and all the little things that you have to learn that take a while. You have to make cultural mistakes. It's just what's going to be, right? And that you can live peacefully. If you want to do that, Chiang Mai is an amazing place, especially with children, right? And it's also not that heavy with tourism, the kind of like tourism that you will find other places like Pattaya or Phuket, right? If you don't want that vibe, Chiang Mai is safe from that because it has no beach, has the mountains. It's a bit more boring. It's a bit more town-like, even though it's big. Beautiful, gorgeous. If you like nature, you want to go in the canyons, ride motorcycles in the jungle, 10 out of 10, best, right? And the people, the sweetest, super safe. It's amazing in all those many ways, right? It can get boring if you want to go there and just have a wild 3 months. Wrong town, right? Bangkok is better for you, right? I'm not a massive fan of Bangkok. For me, it's too much, but I understand the appeal, right? So Thailand as a digital nomad, if you start in and you can be very frugal, it's still a very good option, right? Now, especially good because they have the digital nomad visa that you can get is 5 years. Yeah, some financial requirements. I think you have to have at the moment of saying this, please don't quote me, no financial advice. Think about 500,000 Thai baht in an account for a few months and prove that you have a portfolio of work and that you're legit, right? And you can get a visa that's 5 years and legally work remotely, not for Thai businesses, not for Thai clients, but remotely for your US clients or whatever, your SEO freelance shop, whatever it is that you're running from Thailand. Amazing, right? It's a lot more expensive than some YouTubers make it to be, right? Especially if you want things like very good accident insurance in case that you crash your motorcycle in the jungle when you're going to buy. Things like that, right? You have to factor for that some people that hype the digital nomad life, which I think it needs hyping because it's pretty good by itself, right? I think it actually needs grounding and just cover the difficulties of it. Like visas are a hurdle. Just getting your life affairs in order is a difficulty when you don't know how the country works and nothing is in English. And why would it be in English? But you can even read the script because Thai is very hard to read. Oh, go learn Thai. Oof, that's a tough one, right? I've learned some Thai, but that stuff, right? So in comparison, since I'm here in KL, I would say Malaysia offers a different level of friendliness and more grounded, welcoming to stay longer term, provided, of course, you do everything legally, right? There's different type of visas that you can get to stay long term for tech entrepreneurs. And I believe there's some sort of a digital nomad visa. I'm not exactly sure right now how it works because I'm married to a local, so that's my arrangement. But because of the past, right, as a British colony and English being completely everywhere, right, and de facto by how the country is composed. You have three main cultures, right? The Malay, the Chinese, and the Indians, primarily South Indians, right? As the three big groups. It's already a melting pot. So you come as a foreigner from wherever you're from, like, okay, yeah, another guy that's not like us, right? That is like, it's like us, but same, but different, right? Lots of expats as well, especially in Kuala Lumpur. So to feel like, oh, this could be home long term, I felt that a lot faster in KL than in Chiang Mai, which is, I was always thinking, yeah, a season, I'll do 3 months. And I just changed, 3 months off, 3 months in, 2 months off, right? And eventually it became 9 years, right? But
Wow,
it's not
nine
like, cool,
years.
I moved to Chiang Mai, set base, go with the whole thing. I didn't feel that as quickly as I felt it in KL. Like, yeah, this will be home. This is where I buy my physical books.
And plus, too, let's be fair, there's a lot of serious international business that goes through Malaysia. I mean, and not that, Thailand's not serious. I mean, Bangkok's got, major international investment firms and things too. But when I see big business conferences, top 100 global corporations, they're always doing something in Malaysia. So it has this more New York City. And I know I'm talking about an entire country, but I see Malaysia come up a lot, particularly with extremely high income individuals. So I know that there's some serious business going through Malaysia, and that helps too because you, in a way, your location communicates brand and it communicates value. And I think that's why some people go to some of the Arab countries that are, because that looks good on the resume. If you say you're in Detroit, Michigan, United States, it might not, I love Detroit, but it might not help your resume as much than Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which is, that's a very well respected place. I do want it to help demonstrate the value of what you have to offer and your link. So the I've got the URL in the description. I won't read it because it's very long, but I'm going to drop it in the chat. It's basically the gogetmelinks.com, and I'll put that in the live chat and it's in the description for those watching or those watching later. Because I did take a look at it, it looks like you're delivering a lot of value there. Can you walk us through that call to action and what they'll receive when they get through there?
Yeah. So fundamentally, the link report, right, which I understand is the one that's decided to see it visually, but it's basically what built the company in a way, which was a different approach to how SEO is typically conducted, which Chris made a point about it just being a bit lazy. Like, okay, if you charge someone 3 grand a month for 6 months, you're gonna get them a return. And where do you even pull the figure of 3K a month from? Just because they were happy to pay you that retainer or because that's what they needed to invest? And that was the big question, right? What do people actually need to invest in their SEO to see the kind of results that they're after, which is typically to be at the top for the money keywords that's going to get them the phone calls and get them busy? Simple, right? Very straightforward, especially for local businesses, brick and mortar. For e-commerce, something different, right? And so if you are, I don't know, a dermatologist in a big city,
Well,
right?
let
And
me
you want to
let
be
me
the number
interrupt.
one.
And I apologize, Alex. Let's you hit on a great
Right.
point, and I just want to expand on it. What's the perfect client for you? Because I know, home services business. You mentioned some great things in the opener about home service business, local SEO. What's the perfect client for you? For the people watching this, if they're in X industry, that's where you get excited and you're like, yeah, I love working with companies like that because I can really move the needle.
It's three business primarily that we can help the best, and another source. So I'll explain that. Local businesses that have high value services, fantastic. Why? They're gonna get the LTV against the cost of SEO. That basically makes the cost of SEO ridiculous, even though SEO has gotten a lot more expensive, especially if you want to execute it well and you're thinking holistically and long term and not through hacks. Important details there. Then e-commerce. Why? Because e-commerce has that kind of shape where the moment you start scaling with ads, you can go very fast if you have your 3PL or your stock, right, and your delivery ready. And then you can put it aggressively into Google because you already have the brand through your ads and the sales and the referrals and the reviews that you're getting. You start then investing into your SEO and you start substituting some of the money that you're spending so hard on ads, Google ads or meta ads, into getting those product categories and those actual physical products, right? in both the e-commerce features as well as in the organic, and the cost of acquisition just goes to the floor
And you
once you
said
rank there,
earlier,
right?
was that LTV that you said earlier?
Yeah, any business that has high lifetime value, right? So local businesses, clinics, dentists, lawyers, right? Anything that's not just one single
Right. They're not
transaction,
they're not
right?
coming in for a sandwich. Like a dentist is a great example because you're going to do the x-rays first, you're going to do the cleaning the first time, and then you're going to start progressively adding more, usually more kind of up the upsells, really. The value ladder is really what we're talking about, right? Because you worked with sales funnels,
Right.
and that's something I'd like to talk about on the channel more is that because some customers come in wanting to spend $5,000 and people don't realize that. They might only have a $99 thing, but you can work them up that value ladder if you build so much rapport with your client. They're going to be looking for ways to spend more money with you, and I'm sure you've experienced that too. Do you have any case studies, anybody that you've worked with in the last year that was very memorable where you were able to make a big impact?
Yeah. From the disclosable ones, and this touches on the idea of the source, more than half of our clients are SEO agencies. SEO agencies don't say who builds their links because that's, if you do it right, an edge. But for the clients that we work directly with the end client, right? I have one on my YouTube channel that I quite like because it was an SEO consultant that's been in the game for a very, very long time who knew needed links, didn't want to crack the game of links now because it's honestly a bit insane to do it right. That's why we only do link building. For now, we added more things, but I want to get those things as good as the links before I launch them because otherwise, why doing it? And we partnered where he was taking care of the technical SEO, right? The speed, the indexability, all that stuff, and the content. And we took care of the link building. And it was a dream case because it was an online course, which scales very well because the fulfillment is zero. So they could go very aggressive and spend what they had to spend on SEO, which wasn't that much. We built them 30 backlinks. That was it. And they went from like nowhere to 300 clicks a day. And they've continued to grow ever since, right? We just did a couple rounds of links. That was all. And that was really good because I love working with that consultant because it was like working with me 6 years ago where I was freelancing and I needed someone to do links. I was the client of Give Me Links. I was buying links from the company that I run today as a client. I didn't found it. So, you say entrepreneur, I'm very entrepreneurial, but I'm entrepreneurial because I don't own the business. I run it,
I
right? I
see.
was a
Yeah.
client and, changed hands and they needed me. And so that was a great one and I love it. And also the course that they sell was really good. So just having them at the top was fun, amazing, and tons of like local results. Like, okay, this lawyer we got from here to there, but we typically saw involved only on the link fulfillment part, right? Through agencies that the agency gets the win, which is fine. I'm used to working in the shadows. That's why I land in the hotel, right? If you're invisible but nobody complains, it means that you're doing your job right, right? Because everyone is happy and nobody sees the bellboy. That's what I was doing before. And for the clients that we do work a bit more hands-on, this is where we enter into a lot of strategy sessions. We go into the Search Console, we give them loads and loads of tips, right? And this when being some cases where you actually get someone who's been stuck with SEO for 10 years that says, oh, I didn't know that all I needed was 5 links to this page, 2 links to this page, fix this problem, publish 3 pages. That's it.
So sometimes less is more, it sounds like, which is
Oh yeah.
surprising to me because I don't have that level of experience. I don't ask this question often enough, Alex, and I know that in your work you also have to sometimes contract with people or hire people or have a VA and get some support. And I used to ask this a lot in the first year, and then I don't know why I haven't asked it much lately, but when you're hiring someone as a contractor, as a temp, what goes through your mind, the criteria? How are you choosing people? Because I love to know what people's filtering process is. Because you strike me, you're very methodical, you're very scientific in your approach, which is the way I am, very type A, very left brain. I get that sense. So I just want to know what your filtering criteria is when you're looking for a good person to do some work for you.
It depends tremendously of what's the position,
Mhm.
in the sense of what's the complexity of what they'll be doing every day, and whether or not we already have that internally figured out. So if I'm hiring someone to figure out something that we cannot do yet internally, like I haven't cracked, let's say, TikTok ads, or I haven't cracked Instagram. I haven't cracked YouTube yet. I'm going very aggressive now on YouTube, but I still have 800 subscribers. So, okay, imagine I'm hiring someone to be my YouTube strategist, right? That's a game I haven't cracked. So I'm looking primarily for skill. They have to have the skill 20-fold of whatever I've been able to envision that exists in the marketplace, right? And then second is the cultural match with the organization that I'm building. And now we're all remote, we're all contractors, but there is something that we're building, which is, okay, this is still a team. We have to accomplish large things together, right? And so there has to be a definition of how are we going to hire and firing and promoting people into higher levels of responsibility. And we do that primarily through company values. We have 5 values, so that like the center of the compass, right? Competence, adaptability, trust, collaboration, humanity, catch, right?
I knew you
And
had a
those
system.
come.
I
I
knew you
have
had a
frameworks and
system.
systems for everything because I don't have a formal
Love it.
education, right? So I had to devise those through all the places and just try to formalize them. So I have some sort of book because I didn't go to business school or anything, right? Um, and the point of having those values is, we sit down, people in leadership in the organization, right? We sit down and say, okay, if we are going to define it as they in the book, this is who we are, this is how we operate like, what should be the values? And interestingly, the value that came out the most in the original list was integrity. But me being a slightly neurospicy and loving the precise definitions of words, because as an ESL speaker, for me, it mattered tremendously because I didn't want to say the wrong things in English. I went to the definition of integrity and like, that can't be a value. It says why? It says because integrity is a commitment to a set of values of high moral or aesthetical order. So it's an outcome. You commit to these values and therefore you have integrity. So what are the values that we're committing to? Cannot be integrity. We want to have integrity. What are the values, right? And so we came up with those because we believe those were the ones that would get us the results, have people a sense of, let me put it this way. I wanted people that, in spite of working across the entire world at home, any hours they want, like a lot of like non-belonging kind of thing, because you're a contractor, you're just logging in, you're logging your hours, you're accomplishing your projects, right? You do some Slack, some one-on-ones with people in the team because you have to have your work on track. I wanted people to wake up excited to do their work because I've woke up so many days in my life dreading having to go to work. So like, okay, well, now that I'm the boss, I don't want to create that for anyone that works with me. It says, if we live by these values, we'll serve our clients well, we serve the team well, we'll serve the company because those two things can take care of the company as a whole. And therefore, we're good. We're playing the bigger game, right? And so when it comes to hiring, for me, someone who organically understands those 5 values, and when I ask them without telling them what the values, if they see me in a podcast, fine, fair enough, right? But if they never heard any of these before, and ask them, what are your core values? How do you make decisions in life? What drives your compass? And they tell me something that's already organically very close to that, and I can see that in the way that they behave and everything else. I'm like, okay, this person is gonna be a great fit, right? Oh, I just lost my power here for a night. And if they're a great fit culturally and they have the skill that I'm looking for, I hire pretty fast. And I've been very slow at firing, actually, in previous times in my life. And that's been a very hard lesson that I've learned relatively recently. And I'm becoming a lot faster at firing when I don't see people actually delivering, which is always a difficult thing. When you work remotely, it's always a difficult thing, always a challenge.
Yes, I've noticed myself getting a lot more Darwinian, but that has to do with, and you'll go through a second, potentially a second phase of this, Alex, as the senior member of this conversation. When you hit middle age and you're like, oh wow, I have less time ahead of me. You s- you can't recreate that in your life right now. But when you get to that point and you're like, I only have about 20 really good years left. You don't have time. It becomes those relationships that are not delivering value and that you can't deliver value to um, quickly become a weight. And so I see people kind of reach this middle age and then they start to shed relationships because time is, and some people don't even make it the full 76 years. So yeah, the candle is burning. I'm glad you caught that very early. in your life because it's going to make the back half of your life much, much more valuable. And it's hard. I think it's getting easier through the connectivity of the internet, but sometimes it's hard to find like-minded people, and ambitious people rub non-ambitious people wrong, and it's hard to group those people together. But shout out to Podmatch too, that brought us together. I think it's a great service. Have you been, as a guest, have you been happy with it so far?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's, the subject of delegation, I didn't do any of that part myself. I got a team member to say, hey, I got you here book. This looks great. I look at the box like, oh, this looks indeed great. I'll go. Right. And so knowing that someone in my team just can go through it, look through a bunch of potential placements, is that these all look fit for who you are and what they do, and the host is legit, right? Beautiful. Apply, 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 and then I just get booked in my calendar. That's sort of like what I want, right? As executives, as people doing business, we don't want to go through all of that ourselves. So if it's I think it's built so good that it's easy to have this happen without wasting hours in admin bits, which is the part that can be dragged about podcasts, all the editing, the all the prep, all the stuff, right? You were mentioning in one of your videos, like, now with the tools, it's becoming a lot easier. And now the difficulty is just how saturated it is because it's easier to produce it, and everyone now is tapped into the idea of a podcast being a great idea. So yeah, I
You
think,
you really did your research, Alex. No, most people don't do that. And that's fantastic. If you don't mind, and I apologize, you've been so generous with your time. I appreciate it. I've got your
oh,
link
please,
in the description. I've got your link in this live chat. And if you don't mind, we'll end the stream and then we'll do a quick wrap up on Zoom if you have a moment.
of course, yeah, certainly.
Thank you so much. Let me make sure this is done. And then I also turn the recorder off. I keep forgetting to do that. I had a